When I ask you, as an anime fan, what is the greatest downfall of an anime in history? Something like Seven Deadly Sins or Sword Art Online, which I feel are both valid answers when it comes to this topic. Seven Deadly Sins, it didn't get the nickname Seven Deadly Frames from nowhere. We'll just say that. And as for Sword Art Online, well, we all remember Alfheim, don't we? Or at least the first episode of Alfheim, where you had the creepy adult hitting on what we can pretty much confirm was a teenage girl in a school. How did that chick pass writing? I have no fucking clue. Another valid answer that has been thrown around a lot is Promised Neverland, because let's be real, the manga was amazing, and the anime for season 1 was so fucking good. And then season 2 happened. And it just went bad from there. They decided to put both hands on the wheel, pull the wheel off, and said, God, we're going on a journey. Guide me with your wisdom. And God drove them into a fucking ditch. Another valid answer, which is one of the animes I like up until season 2, but a lot of people hate season 2 onwards, is Tokyo Ghoul, which is a bit of an older pick, but I feel like it is still a valid pick in the circumstance. Tokyo Ghoul was, I would say, an iconic manga, and then the anime diverted from the manga's story in season 2. I personally didn't mind it. Obviously, I read the manga after I watched the anime, so I don't hold it as highly, but I know I hurt a lot of manga readers' feelings when Tokyo Ghoul did their own thing for season 2, which is fair. But we're not going to be talking about any of those today. Today, we're going to be talking about an anime that had the potential to be an anime that went down in history as one of the best action-based animes of all time, but killed itself because of one choice. Today, we are going to be talking about the rise and fall of Ninja Kamui. Now, if you haven't heard of Ninja Kamui, I don't quite blame you, because I had the unfortunate circumstance of beginning to release in February this year, in the middle of Solo Leveling's run from January to March, which is a bit unfortunate because Solo Leveling was and probably is going to be the biggest anime this year, alongside your My Hero, Go-Go Loser Ranger, JJK Season 2, at least in terms of anime awards, because technically the first core counted for the anime awards of this year, so by all technicality the Shibuya arc can qualify for the awards of next year, which is a bit bullshit, but I digress. Ninja Kamui, it didn't get the push it needed, which is unfortunate, because the animation, or at least the animation for the fights in episode 1, were so different and clean, and I loved it. For example, if we were to take Solo Leveling as an example, Solo Leveling does a very good job of making each hit feel fluid and instantly progressing to the next one. Or if you're taking the Igris fight, making each hit rapid and almost devastating. With each hit you feel it, and with each hit you see that Sun Jinwoo, or Sun Woo, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, don't butcher me please, feels his hits. With Ninja Kamui, they take a different approach to this. If you've watched the opening fight, you might have an idea of what I mean when I say this. Ninja Kamui makes each hit fluid in the sense of they don't make anything last longer enough. They don't make any hit last longer in a fight than they need to. Each time that he pulls out his knife and does a little trick with it, the trick is clean, it's quick, and he instantly goes into stabbing. And he doesn't, stab someone for like 14 seconds straight or like 20 frames. No. It's simple, it's quick. I understand these are like the low-level thugs, but the way that they did the fight was, I feel, so well done for this anime. Granted, the story obviously didn't attract me. By God, did this animation style make me feel just a different level of appreciation for some people. Now, this animation style might remind you of something once I tell you who directed this. It is someone called Sung-Ho Park. Now, that name might ring a couple of bells for the animation community. It's because he's one of the people who worked on JJK Zero, the movie, the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, and the God of High School. Now, God of High School is renowned for for rushing a lot of the story. But the fights in God of High School, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Jujutsu Kaisen Zero are all fluid in their motion. And they are so clean in how they execute fights. I feel like Ninja Kamui Episode 1, you could really tell that he took some inspiration from some of his fights with God of High School and Jujutsu Kaisen Zero. Especially the Yuta Kenjaku fight. Or, it's not Kenjaku in that one, it's Ghetto. Thank you, it's Ghetto in that fight. God, I'm gonna get butchered for this. I feel like he really took an inspiration from the Yuta Ghetto fight, and also Jin Mori versus Dewa in God of High School. You could really tell he took inspiration because of how fluid and quick the hits are. Unfortunately, that is the peak of this show. Probably the episode 1 fight. From there, that's the peak of the anime, the episode 1 fight, I feel. It goes downhill from there because off of a first episode, you could make the argument that they are laying the foundation to build a story, so the story might not entirely be there. But from episode 2 onwards, it becomes apparent that they did not really put a lot of attention into the story and wanted to purely go for a fighting sequence. Which I get in a sense of fighting anime tends to attract a lot of people, but the style begun to change further down the series. After episode 5, it becomes really apparent that Ninja Kamui begun to try and save time by cutting animation down. From one, they used hand-drawn art to emphasize facial expressions, to doing it in a 3D CGI. You can really tell that Ninja Kamui began to not care as heavily for its animation. And this really begun to hit because Ninja Kamui's only saving grace, I feel, was their fights and was their animation style, which began to dip. Now, this is an issue a lot of people have with the show. I'm not sure entirely how to feel about it because I didn't pay as much attention to the audio, the soundtrack, we should say. But a lot of people associate Ninja Kamui with trying to have a Japanese style of music, or like it should have had a Japanese style of music, and it went for some sort of pop rock sort of vibe to it whenever the fights happened. I didn't entirely notice this up until it was pointed out, and I'm not entirely sure how to feel about it. I understand people don't like it, and I can respect it. I'm just not 100% sure if I entirely hate it, or if it's just something like, it's there, it exists, I can live with it. After episode 11, the downfall from episode 6 to episode 10 was, I would say, a very slow but obvious decline. It wasn't, they were trying to save time and they were cutting back on a lot of stuff to make it look, to make the episodes push out quicker, because it clearly wasn't doing well. So they wanted to just get it out. Episode 12 and 13 was the breaking point for this. After episode 12 and 13, the show became almost entirely CGI. And it showed in the fight scenes. This became almost something like a show, if you've ever seen it, it's called Sword Guy. It's on Netflix. The difference is Sword Guy has decent fight scenes that do use CGI, whereas with Ninja Kamui, it started off with such a good animation and it slowly descended, and then episode 12 and 13 dropped. It just didn't care anymore. It went from a story about a guy fighting his clan to a story about cyborgs trying to take over the world. The story was incoherent. The animation just gave up. Like, the main issue I'm having with this, which is apparent if you watch this video back, is the animation just died off, which is a shame, because the animation for episode 1 and 2, we'll say, like 3 through 5, they began sort of getting a bit lazy with it, but it wasn't like a deal breaker. It was something you could live with. But episode 1 and 2 had such high potential, if only for a fighting anime. Like, if we're negating story, if we're negating music, just as a action-packed anime, Ninja Kamui could have been up there with, I wouldn't say the greats, but I would say it would be up on a level where people would talk about it. And they gave up on that dream. And it pains me to see that, because Ninja Kamui was a show, at least from what I'd seen popping up on Twitter, on TikTok, on Reddit, on all other social media, Ninja Kamui episode 1 and episode 2 was a show that so many people talked about. In the same month as Solo Leveling, keep in mind, which was a different animal when it came to everything. Ninja Kamui had the potential to at least stand not on level with Solo Leveling. I don't want to get it twisted. I'm not saying Ninja Kamui even holds a candle to that anime. But what I am saying is Ninja Kamui had the potential to at least stand in the level of fight scenes with Solo Leveling. And they just bit the bullet with it. My theory is they realized that Solo Leveling they were never going to outsail Solo Leveling, and they weren't getting enough traction because of it. So they had to make some cutbacks because their show wasn't being as pushed as they'd liked. So they weren't earning enough money to justify keeping certain things up that were high budget. So they swapped to CGI. And then they realized that's not helping, but I mean, enough people would be watching, because I'm assuming at this point Solo Leveling had ended. So they come up with the assumption, hey, CGI is doing well. Let's push entirely CGI. And that's what really killed the show. Another example of CGI killing a show, Berserk, which is something I talk about a lot, but another video. It's the unfortunate circumstance of Ninja Kamui that it had such a prominent rise within episode 1, 2, and I'll even say to episode 5, but episode 1 and 2 were the ones that really gave it that big push to begin with. And then from then on, it just dipped. And it's sad to say, because Sung-Ho Park has been he's been known for so many stuff. He did the opening sequence for Zombieland Saga. He became the assistant director for Banana Fish. He directed God of High School, which we can all say what we want. God of High School was a very visually appealing anime. If not for the fact that it condensed so much story and left out so much plot points, God of High School was a decent enough anime. He directed JJK Zero. Like, he directed JJK. He had such high potential. And I feel like Ninja Kamui just really bit the bullet. And that kind of, I wouldn't say ruined him, because this man will still go down as making one of the best first seasons of anime ever. But I'm hoping it's something we can sweep under the rug, or at least come back to at a later date and hope that it gets redone, because Ninja Kamui has that potential, I feel. But that's my opinion on this. What's all your opinions on this? I want you guys to give me your takes on Ninja Kamui. Did you actually watch all 13 episodes? Did you enjoy all 13 episodes? If so, did you enjoy Berserk as in the anime? Because we need to talk about that if that's the case. While you're down there, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you all in the next episode of either an anime review, or let me know what else you want me to do. You know, I'm trying to progress to anime, so if you want me to talk about any shows, or maybe do just some funny anime stuff, talk about a character, I'll do my research.